Caregiving can sometimes feel like an impossible struggle. Caregivers may be torn between taking care of loved ones and trying to maintain balance in life. The good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. The Caring Generation with host Pamela D Wilson is here to focus on the conversation of caring. You're not alone. In fact, you're in exactly the right place to share stories and learn tips and resources to help you and your loved ones. So now, please welcome the host of The Caring Generation, Pamela D Wilson.
I'm Pamela D. Wilson, caregiving expert, speaker, consultant, and guardian of the Caring Generation. Thank you for joining me for this week's show, episode 223, that kicks off year 8 of the Caring Generation podcast. Before jumping into this week's topic, please, if you find this podcast helpful, click the like or follow button on your podcast app and take a minute to add a positive review. Your likes, follows, and reviews help the Caring Generation podcast grow and reach more listeners seeking solutions and education related to health, financial, legal, and complicated family matters. Caregivers ask how to manage the emotional impacts, ups, and downs of caring for a spouse, elderly parents, grandparents, or other loved ones. During this week's show, I'll share 4 tips and other information to help caregivers manage emotions during unpredictable and uncertain caregiving situations. As the caregiver, it's important not to overlook the reality that you, your health, and your needs matter as much as anyone else in your life, including the person you care for. When caregivers are stressed out, the mind immediately goes to worst-case disaster scenarios, or does something called catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is part of human survival and instinct that can be built upon previous experiences in a life. Worst-case scenario thinking is associated with caregiving because there can be a lot of uncertainty about what will happen next when it comes to a health diagnosis, a medical emergency, or the increasing amounts of time needed to care for a family member. It's all the uncertainty that's difficult and emotionally distressing and draining. One thing can depend on the next and the next and the next. What will happen? What will the effects be? Tip number 1 is to find a way around worst-case scenario thinking or catastrophizing. You can do this by learning a new way to think. You can create a new mental process that reduces worst-case thinking. So, how do you do this? One of the first steps you can take is to stay in the moment to deal with the issue that is stressing you out. Answer the question, what needs to be done in this moment? Do I have to make a decision right now? Are there alternatives and options? Should I think about this for 24 hours before making an important decision? The reasons to stay in the moment and let emotions around the event settle lead us to number 2, which is realizing that the emotional impact of an event can last anywhere from a couple of minutes to several hours. And if we keep reliving that event in our mind, it can turn into a traumatic event that then relates to what I call caregiver PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. These events become stories that caregivers can relive over and over again unless they find a way to say, nope, I'm not going to do that. A bad thing happened, an event I don't like happened, but I am not going to let it control my thinking, my life, or my decisions. When caregivers find it challenging to manage their emotions, the emotions can build and build until there is an emotional breakdown, or one of those times when caregivers just lose their patience and say what they're thinking, even though they know they probably shouldn't. How many of us have ever found ourselves in that situation where we opened our mouths and immediately we knew it was the wrong thing to do? Tip number 3 is to seek a way to calm emotions and nerves to reduce stress so that we're not saying and doing things that we know are not good for a situation. A frantic, frazzled, spinning mind cannot focus. It cannot create a calm situation that supports problem solving and thinking practically and thinking thoroughly and planning. Stress can be self-imposed by all those worrisome thoughts, or it may be brought on by outside and unpredictable circumstances, which is very common in caregiving. By finding a way to calm down in the middle of a chaotic situation, caregivers can then take a minute, take a day, take a week to focus on a best case scenario to determine the next steps to take. Calming down in the moment might look like taking a minute or several minutes to find a quiet place to sit all alone, where you can close your eyes and relax. Maybe calming down for you is listening to your favorite music to distract and slow down your mind. Or maybe calming down is walking, running, or doing some type of physical activity until you feel exhausted, calmer, and your mind isn't circling in all of that emotional distress. Whatever it is, find something that calms you down. And then let's take calm to the next step. To actually resolve the issue that was making you feel emotionally upset, write down on a piece of paper what is upsetting or worrying you. Look at what you wrote down so that you can rank the problems in order of most upsetting to least upsetting. Then ask yourself, what do you believe that you can or cannot do to solve this problem? Do you have beliefs that prevent you from making progress? These beliefs can include feeling that you can't say no, that having your needs met isn't important, that nobody else cares as much as you do. It's important to learn that it's okay to realize you are drowning in too much to do and too much responsibility and not enough time and no time for you, that you may be at the point where you need to change this situation that's causing emotional distress. Again, look at what you've tried that hasn't worked. Think of what new ideas you might have to try. And if you feel you've tried everything, if you're out of options, would you benefit from discussing the problem with someone else to see how they might handle it? If you're a caregiver, joining an on-the-ground or online support group is a great way to receive feedback from people in similar situations about your problem. My online caregiver support is on Facebook. It's called the Caregiving Trap. You can go to Facebook, the Caregiving Trap, and request to join. So, you've made a list. You've ranked the problems from most distressing to least distressing. Now, choose that highest priority problem and decide, what are you willing to do to resolve this problem, to resolve the emotions that you're feeling around this problem? The simple act of taking action can help manage emotions around situations that caregivers view as exhausting or threatening. Let's look at a fairly common caregiver situation to test out these suggestions. For example, mom or dad falls and breaks a hip. They go to a nursing home for rehabilitation so that they might return to walking independently, use a walker for assistance, or use a wheelchair if they really cannot regain their ability to walk. The outcome of that rehab will impact whether mom or dad can continue living independently in their home. So, if mom or dad falls and breaks a hip, they go to rehab, they return to being independent, then returning home is that most likely scenario. If mom or dad needs a walker and maybe other assistance to get around, maybe the best setting is assisted living. If mom or dad needs a wheelchair and a lot of assistance, a lot of hands-on assistance, then the best option for them may be to live in a nursing home. So how do you work through the emotional turmoil you might be feeling about this event? The hip fracture, going to the nursing home for rehab, and not knowing exactly what's going to happen next. Through all of these ups and downs, unexpected and unpredictable events, tip number 4 is to release what no longer serves you, which means release repeating patterns from the past. Patterns include becoming emotionally upset or distraught, jumping to conclusions without having all of the facts or information, feeling that you are the one that has to do everything, arguing with siblings about the care of elderly parents, maybe arguing with your parents who appear stubborn and just don't want to listen, or being the caregiver who has to control every single detail to the extreme so that you drive off family members who might want to be helpful, but they don't want the drama of having to work with you. They like their emotional calm. If your emotions are all over the place, you might be catastrophizing and thinking, oh, mom and dad, they are not going to recover. They may not be able to live at home. Who's going to take care of them? How will they pay for care if they need it? Those are all the concerns that you should write down to see if they are accurate. How true are they? And if they are true, what can you do to investigate options? Should you meet with the rehab staff at the nursing home and your parent to ask what is required for physical therapy for your parent to recover, live independently, and live in their home? Is there any type of timeline you can set with the nursing home to evaluate mom or dad's progress so that you know what a practical next step might be? Consider talking about scenarios and options with mom or dad, especially if they can't return home. Involve them in exploring care options. Help them to understand that their actions today in this rehab community will have the biggest effect on where they get to live. They have control over this situation, more control than they think they do. So if you're involving them in exploring care options, have them gather information, make phone calls, do some research on the internet. This process can itself become a calming factor in what might seem to be an out-of-control situation, and you may arrive at a variety of options to consider, which would be the best-case scenario. Identifying options and having potential solutions can make a huge difference in regulating emotional ups and downs and all-over-the-place responses to unpredictable situations. For caregivers, know that saying that you'll work harder, you'll do more, you'll make it work, but ignoring the root problem specific to a loved one's care can only lead to more caregiver PTSD and avoidance and emotional overwhelm, and anxiety. So maybe instead, you need to do less and let others do more. So, to recap, if you're feeling anxious and emotionally upset about a care situation, any care situation, consider these options. Create a new thought and action-oriented process around that worry, around worst case scenario thinking that involves information seeking, gathering information, and becoming more educated. 2, stay in the moment to allow your emotions to settle so that you don't make rushed decisions or say something you might regret. 3, find a way to reduce your stress so that you are in a place of calm where you can focus and think more clearly about the options in front of you. 4, release those old habits and patterns that no longer serve you and those that may have brought you to the place of emotional overwhelm where you are today. And one more thing, find a person, a friend, a family member, a confidant, someone who knows you and someone you trust, someone who can encourage you when you need a boost or give you a hard dose of reality when you might be swimming in denial or procrastination or emotional upset. Being a caregiver, it's not easy. Managing emotions associated with caregiving is critical if you want to maintain your physical health and your emotional well-being. Know that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I have to stop doing this. It's time for other people to step up. As the caregiver, don't put yourself at the bottom of the list. It's important not to overlook the fact that you, your health, your well-being matter as much as anybody else in your life, including the person that you care for. I'm Pamela D Wilson, a caregiving expert, advocate, speaker, and educator. You're with me on The Caring Generation. Thank you for joining me for episode 223, kicking off year number 8. This episode, How to Manage the Emotional Impact of Caregiving. To view the show transcript and the video that accompanies this podcast, go to PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Media tab, select The Caring Generation, and scroll down to episode 223. And while you're there, check out the other 222 episodes. I look forward to being with you all again soon. God bless you all. Sleep well tonight. Have a fabulous day tomorrow and enjoy each day until we are here together again.
Tune in each week for The Caring Generation with host Pamela D. Wilson. Come join the conversation and see how Pamela can provide solutions and peace of mind for everyone. Here on Pamela D. Wilson's The Caring Generation.